Hey guys, today I wanted to talk to you about some trinkets. So I've been getting a lot of questions about my trinkets and why I use them. So I wanted to go over which trinkets are the strongest and why I use the trinkets that I do, okay? So let's get started here. First off, we have the combo that I'm using. It's Memory of Past Sins at 226 and the Dreadfire Vessel at 220. It's two unused trinkets, right? My past experience in World of Warcraft has told me that you should only use one unused trinket because you can't use them both at the same time. That is still true, but it honestly doesn't punish Outlaw Rogue that much. Because as an Outlaw Rogue, your damage is very consistent, you always have damage, kind of, and you can just use your unused trinket at any time, really. I try to always line it up with Between the Eyes for the 20% extra crit on the trinkets, but that's about it. Other than that, you can just use it whenever. It is also very beneficial to have two unused trinkets because you will always have an unused trinket up for the Prideful in Mythic Dungeons. It is very nice to have one unused trinket for a Prideful, but you can also have two unused trinkets for a Prideful. If you really feel like you need it, you can save both of them for the Prideful. Which really helps out a lot. So I was gonna go through some simulations now here, different scenarios with different trinkets, and we'll compare and see what it looks like. So this is, let's see, we'll start with this one, which is Patchwork, 5 minutes, 1 boss target, all the raid buffs, right? So this is, I've simmed every trinket here at 226 compared to my 220 Dreadfire Vessel. Since the Memory of Past Sins is slightly stronger, then I've simmed my weakest trinket against these, right? So on a 5 minute Patchwork, 1 boss fight with all the raid buffs available, the Fire of Putrefaction in the second slot comes in at a 71 DPS increase, and the Hateful Shane at 226 comes in at a 40 DPS increase, Skulker's Wing at the 34 DPS increase. And this is over a very long fight, which is 5 minutes, like a normal raid fight, basically. We also don't have we have the decanter here at the bottom, 226. It's actually not very good. None of the trinkets that I haven't included here are not great, honestly. The Stone Legion's Heraldry, if you get it on Mythic eye level, you could probably use it and be pretty okay. The only thing with that is that you would really prefer to have some other people in your group using it to get the increased value out of it. On its own, it's not really that impressive, to be honest. So these are the trinkets that I've included. The inscrutable quantum device is also not on here because it's too unreliable and it's honestly not that strong later on. It falls off a lot in comparison to these damage trinkets. And the thing with the decanter also is that it has a very narrow cone in front of you. So I don't really like the decanter of Anima Charged Winds. But I'll go through all the trinkets and tell you what I think about them, right? But this is the trinkets that I chose in my simulations. So for a 5 minutes, 1 boss target patchwork fight with all the buffs, your BIS is Fire of Putrefaction and the 233 Dreadfire Vessel. Since I don't have that, I have the Memory of Past Sins 226, and the 233 Dreadfire Vessel is kind of out of reach at the moment. It feels like it's kind of far away. So this is the combo that I would be using. Like, for example, if I get the 226 File of Putrefaction in the weekly vault, I will pick it. Otherwise, I will not pick any trinket. And this is 1 minute, 5 boss targets without raid buffs. This is just with Bloodlust. So this is like a dungeon simulation. I'm not really using Dungeon Slice at the moment. So I prefer to just do 5 boss targets for 1 minute. But you can probably do Dungeon Slice as well. I haven't really looked into how they sim or whatever. But I like this one because then I know what's going on a little bit better than with Dungeon Slice. So for 5 boss targets, 1 minute, then File of Putrefaction really shoots up in value because it cleaves on everything. So File of Putrefaction is a great trinket. And Skulker's Wing is also a little bit of an increase over the Dreadfire Vessel. But the problem with Skulker's Wing is very much like the Inscrutable Quantum Device, that you can't always use it. And a trinket that you can't always use is not great, to be honest. I don't really like that very much. Because this trinket works as this. You become a Skulking Predator, pouncing on the next enemy to come within 8 yards. This means that you can get thrown into something that you don't want to get thrown into and actually die in like a Mythic Dungeon or a Raid Boss encounter. More so in the Mythic Dungeon, I feel like, because there's a lot more stuff to avoid and a lot more stuff going on. So I'm not a super big fan of this trinket, honestly. And even if I got it, I don't think I would use it, actually. Because the difference between this and the Dreadfire Vessel is 61 DPS, yeah, but out of 16,651, it's like not even 1%. Right? Yeah. Yeah, it's not even 1%. So the difference between the Skulker's Wing and the Dreadfire Vessel is very small, and then you also run the risk of just killing yourself to AoE. So I'm not a big fan of the Skulker's Wing, to be honest. But the File of Putrefaction is incredibly good for multi-target cleaving and stuff. So that trinket I would definitely consider if it was an option. Other than that, I think I'm just sticking to these two trinkets for AoE or dungeon situations. For 1 minute, 1 boss target with Bloodlust and not all the raid buffs, then these are the simulations, right? Then the Dreadfire Vessel Memory of Past Sins combo is actually better than the File of Putrefaction as 2-6, because the fight is very short, so these unused trinkets are going to be a lot stronger. And here we have Skulker's Wing as well, but as I said, I'm not a big fan of Skulker's Wing, so I will probably never play it. Even if I get it, I'll probably give it away. So this is for a 1 minute boss fight. And the reason I've sim for a 1 minute boss fight is because the Pridefuls in dungeons and the raid bosses as well, and the dungeon bosses, sorry. The bosses in the dungeons and the Prideful manifestations, they take about 1 minute, I guess, on average. It's like the Pridefuls take a bit less time and the bosses take a bit more time. But generally, your job, or at least my job in my Mythic Plus dungeons, is to kill the Pridefuls. So I want to maximize for the Pridefuls as good as I can. That is why I sim for these shorter fights, and it also helps on the bosses a lot. So I really like this double unused combo I got going on, because I always have an unused trinket ready for the Pridefuls. That is why I really like this combo. I would play the File of Putrefaction instead of one of these, if I had it at 2-6, but that is the only trinket that I would consider. So the best combo would be File of Putrefaction as 2-6, and then a Dreadfire Vessel at 233. If you somehow don't have the Dreadfire Vessel, like you don't kill Mythic Denethris, which is very normal, then you can take the 2-6 Memory of Past Sins. If you don't have the Memory of Past Sins, then you can take the Skulker's Wing, but you have to be really, really careful when you use it. If you don't have this and you only go after Mythic Plus trinkets, then you would have to go with File of Putrefaction 2-6 and Hateful Chain at 2-6, but you would probably want to go Dreadfire Vessel Heroic, like 220. And I think everyone who does Mythic Plus to the point where you get 2-6 from your vault should be able to get the 220 Heroic Denathrius trinket. So you should go for this Heroic trinket and then 2-6 File of Putrefaction. That would be your best combo. I'll go over some more trinkets here. I'll go over the dungeon trinkets and tell you what I think about them. So we'll sort by trinket here. So Shadowgrasp Totem is kind of underwhelming. You could play it early on if you got like a 2-6 in the vault or whatever, but it doesn't really do a lot of damage. It's kind of like average damage. So I would never play this in any scenario. Like the heroic trinkets you get from the raid are better. Inscrutable Quantum Device, I don't like this one because it's too unreliable, and it also falls off a lot in the scaling. Like compared to my unused trinkets now that like do a lot of damage, this Quantum Device really falls off. later on. And it also has quite a long cooldown at 3 minutes, so it's a little bit hard to juggle. The Mistcaller Ocarina is like a group buff thing, so like you should never play this as DPS, to be honest. You should let your tank or your healer play this in that case. Plaguefall, the infinitely divisible ooze, is like on the same tier as the Shadowgrass Totem. It's not very good. The File of Purification, though, is insanely good, and this is like your best trinket overall, so you definitely want this at as high eye level as you can get it. Sanguine Depths, the Decanter, we already went over. Spire's Overcharged Anima Battery, it's not strong. The unused trinket is pretty weak, and yeah, the overall output is just not great on this trinket. Necrotic Wake, Bottle Flayed Wind Toxin is like the same tier as like the Shadowgrass Totem or the other trinkets in the Ooze trinket from Plaguefall or whatever. And it's also very annoying because it falls off when you die, so you have to reapply it for 1 hour, and like you're already juggling your normal poisons, and then you have to have another poison on top of that, and you have to make a weak aura for it and whatever. It's just an annoying trinket, honestly. Theater of Pain, the Grim Codex here is just really bad. I wouldn't ever use this in anything, even at the high eye level. And the raid trinkets we already went over. The Macabre Sheet music is garbage, because you have to find these ghost dancers around you and step into them and stuff. It's just unusable, and even if you step into all of them perfectly, the effect you get is not very strong. Dreadfire Vessel is your best in slot trinket at 233, together with the File of Purification. Hateful Chain is good for single target, but honestly pretty meh in dungeons. On shorter fights, it really falls off in value. I'm not a big fan of this trinket, to be honest. It also heals you when you're lower health than your enemy. For example, on a Prideful, you could be low health for quite some time, because it's hard for the healer to max your health up. I don't like this trinket. Memory Pass Sins, it's very nice. It scales with your group as well, so it's very usable in like raid content and in group content if you have another one with it. You can line it up, it's very nice. Then we have the Skulker's Wing. I'm not a big fan of this because it throws you to the target, and it could kill you if you're unlucky, right? Stone Legion's Heraldry is just pretty weak in comparison to the other trinket. I mean, other trinkets, even at Mythic, 83 agility and 98 versatility is not amazing. However, the increase by 5% for each Stone Legionnaire in your party. If you have like 3 Stone Legionnaires in your Mythic Plus group, then maybe this could see some play, but I just feel like it's kind of underwhelming compared to what's available at the moment. So, in conclusion, I would say that your overall best trinkets, if you want to do all the content, whatever, is the Dreadfire Vessel 233 and the File of Purification at 2. Did I render my 210 file? Yes, I did. Okay, so the best one is Dreadfire Vessel and the File of Purification that drops in Plaguefall. You can also go double on used trinket like I'm doing here. It's really nice for Pridefuls in dungeons, but I would swap one of these out if I got the 226 file in the vault. So you can also go for the unused trinket from Shriekwing, the Skulker's Wing, but you have to be really careful with that to not kill yourself. So that's the trinkets that I think are the best. The Dreadfire Vessel and the File for like all content is really good. You can play double on use in dungeons and be super fine, but the File is really strong in dungeons as well, so you definitely shouldn't sleep on that for like cleaving and stuff. But since I like to focus a lot on prideful damage, that's why I play double on use trinket. I hope I answered all of your questions about trinkets now. I've gone over all of the trinkets and what I think about them and which trinkets I prefer. And that's where I will finish the video. So if you have any questions about this, please feel free to come by my stream and ask me. That's the best chance to get an answer is when I'm streaming. And I stream every day from 8 p.m. to midnight, as well as other times when I'm available. But that's it for now, guys. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.